Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. How you going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm always good. You know how it is. How's your quarantine treating you, Casey?
Oh, yeah, look, I'm getting a little cabin fever. I'm sure you are as well. You do a hell of a lot more flying than me. And I'm
Well,
kind of sick of seeing the inside of my house as much as I miss
yeah,
it when I'm away.
yeah, there is that. But I suppose I travel so much that it's good to spend a bit of time at home.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I am just going to get a live on Facebook.
Go for it.
So just
Which
give me
takes
one
a
second.
takes a takes a minute or two, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I couldn't get it connected the other day. It just was.
Connect it to FaceTube. Is this going live to the PMTA, Property Management Training Academy? Is that where we're going?
I've just added it onto my
Your
timeline,
personal?
and then I'm going to
Okay.
tag us from there.
Okay, great.
When I did it from PMTA the other day, it was just lagging a lot.
Are you on a Mac?
Yes.
Use Google Chrome.
Okay. Let's.
I found it. It goes. There is always a lag, but Google Chrome is the better. It will by default take you to Safari, but anyway.
We're making some progress on this, so hopefully it progresses through. If not, I am recording, so we can certainly share this at a later stage as well this afternoon while everyone's enjoying a beer.
Fantastic. Yep. Yes. I actually had beers this morning. You'll be happy to hear. Well, you probably don't care, but I did have beers this morning with the Women's Council of Real Estate in Miami at 6 a.m.
Right. Unable to stream on Facebook. There you go.
That's Safari. So
Yeah,
it's
that'll be.
diverting to Safari.
Yeah, it is.
How did I change that? I think I went to. Let me see. Oops.
Yeah, it still says it's preparing a live stream, but
It does that. It
does
just
it? Yeah.
spins and hangs and goes nowhere. Change default browser.
That will. I can always add it on later anyway.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll share it through to everyone as well, and we can pop it on later this afternoon.
No dramas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have the fix to that. That happened to me the other day, and I googled it. I believe Chrome is
Chrome is the better one. Okay, we'll try that next time. But,
Yeah,
so we're waiting for all of our participants to come through this morning, but thanks very much for joining me today. I really wanted to have a chat to you to see how you can share some of the great tips for our property managers, and BDMs that are out there, our leasing consultants, who are now, have got restrictions on them with different ways that they can be, certainly leasing these homes, obviously why COVID-19's floating around in this world of ours. So I know you and I have done a lot of work together in America and Australia, and you've toured with Tara and I through RETG events. So you certainly also know the rental space, which I think is really important as a part of this for everyone to understand who you are. So maybe could we start there so everyone gets to know your background, and for those who don't know you, and a little bit about Box Brownie, and then we'll just dive in. I've got some few questions to ask you to get started.
Yep,
So
for sure.
there.
Yeah, so my name's Peter Schravemade. I work at Box Brownie now. My background prior to that was I was the operations manager for a hotel franchise, the Direct Hotels Group. So I was handling both short and long-term letting. And then I suppose even going back prior to that, I was with an investment property company. We also had a property management arm. And way back in the day, I started all out at Realway Property Consultants, which is also where you began. Admittedly, I was in the sticks and you were in Metropolitan Gold Coast, was it?
Yes,
memory?
Kira.
Yeah, Kira. So I was with Realway Property Consultants Rockhampton, and that was back when I was 20. I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but let's just put it out there that I've got extensive property experience ranging from sales, residential sales, commercial, including a lot of property management skills in there, but more from a managerial perspective, I suppose. But why I start with that is the trend all the way through all of that probably geared me for my career at Box Brownie. I saw this company back when I was the operations manager at Direct Hotels. And yeah, a previous director came to me and he said, "Hey, I've got this cool idea. Here's the name of the company." Now, I knew what a box brownie was straight away, and I thought, fantastic idea. He explained to me he was looking to put marketing in the hands of real estate agents at an affordable price. And back then, affordable was quite a lot more expensive than what our prices are these days. So, full circle, probably 2 years later than that, I met Mel and Brad, who are the current owner. There was a third owner. I met them. They were applying for a personal assistant, and I had applied for that job. So, 4.5 years on, here we are, and we are a global company. I suppose that my largest part of my job, I suppose, is industry evangelist, where I travel around the property industry teaching agents how to market their houses better. And I suppose that leads me to your next question. A lot of what I'm doing at the moment is teaching agents how to market, I suppose, in extraordinary circumstances, the circumstances that we find each other, ourselves and the industry in right now. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. I just think it's nice for those who haven't, met you, and a lot of people have no doubt seen you on social media and things like that, but it's just nice to know your background.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I
hopefully
was
they've
waiting
seen the
for the
right.
TikTok this morning, but
I haven't put a TikTok up lately. It's only one TikTok video. You can follow me. It's not very good. I'll put that. Yeah. So I suppose, moving forward, we found ourselves in a ridiculous plight, I suppose, in the industry where, for no fault of our own, we're in a scenario where we're finding it really difficult, not just to operate as property managers, but to do basic functions. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know if you have.
No, definitely not. No. I just
Yeah.
now it's and that's one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you, is because we've got to think out of the box now, because there's uncertainty, there's things that are constantly changing all of the time, there's different challenges, there will be new restrictions, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And I think now, by thinking outside of the box and looking at other ways that we can be performing better as property managers and still delivering a high level of service, is where we've got to start to now shift our mindset to. And the way that we did it 2 weeks ago is completely different to how we're doing it today.
Yeah, that's it. And like, I'm finding globally, the way you had your business set up 2 weeks ago would largely influence how we can only see Casey and not Peter. His video is turned off. I think you just need to change it from speaker view to gallery view.
Is that better?
Tara, give us a hoy and hello to you, Tara Bradbury in Harvey Bay. Hopefully she can see it now. I haven't heard from her. Yes. Hi, now only Peter. That's because I'm speaking. I think it is that better? Is that better? No, I don't know, Tara. Okay, we've got it. Yeah, what I'm finding globally is the companies that have been operating already remotely or with the ability to act remote are functioning really well, whereas some of the other ones who, let's say, required an office to operate, like a server on site, for example, or the essential tools of property management all there, they have really been struggling. The UK, especially, hardest hit. I have seen huge furlough layoffs in massive asset management companies. JLL would be one of those. I have a friend high up in JLL who has been made, not made redundant, but put on furlough, and they're sort of hung out to dry. There's a 2-month period that she's on that, then they're going to make another decision at the end of it. So yes, I've been seeing how a lot of agents are doing it, and it's tough. I sympathise with the plight the industry's in at the moment, but fortunately, I have seen a lot of Australian agents doing it really well as well.
Yeah, no, that's and there's some benefit to, obviously, your product or Box Brownie's product to support our industry. And it's been out for 4 and a bit years now, but some people may not actually know exactly what Box Brownie can do to really help the rental space. I think it's probably, am I right in saying it's definitely more predominantly used in a sales marketing aspect opposed to the rental side? And you might get more in Australia, but in America, it's
Yeah,
probably used it
yeah.
more in sales.
Yeah, definitely globally, it's used more for residential sales, and that's also probably indicative of our property management industry not being as far along as sort of the Australian is. But yes, in Australia, we have quite a large support base from the property managers. So a lot of them have cottoned on to the fact that it's there and it's a viable alternative, I suppose. In Australia, we have a high level of professional photography.
Mm-hmm.
And our take on professional photography has been, if you have the budget to do it, you should do it. There are a lot of really good professional photographers out there in Australia. Where we've sort of come to the fore now is that it has been increasingly more and more difficult to get a professional photographer to site. And in some jurisdictions and places around the world, it's actually impossible. You can't even access it, let alone getting there. California, New York are shut down. There is talk that we may go to stage 4, and that would become very, very difficult here in Australia. I think one state just did overnight, maybe New South Wales. Maybe they were just talking about it. But yeah, I suppose the issue is, if you are in a scenario where you're struggling to market a house because you can't get a professional photographer there, then really we are a viable solution, I think, to that issue. We've got a bunch of tips and tricks and ways of getting around that, and we launched one today. We launched I suppose a greater feather in our arsenal, feather in our bow to do that. So did you want me to highlight some of that? Do you want me to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
over?
I think if we can dive into it, let's digress slightly if we can.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that are listening, is what marketing strategies have we seen in the past, right? Or we're currently seeing that have done poorly. And what tips can we be giving to those who are listening today about overhauling? Like, what are the first steps that they should be looking at in their marketing strategies now moving forward? And what kind of conversations should they be having with their landlords and tenants now? Because you can't, as you said, there's some restrictions in gaining access to these properties. So let's start there, and then let's dive into what products that you've got that can help each of those phases.
Yeah, sure. So the five things I really go looking for when we offer a free marketing health check. So if that's of benefit to anyone, that there's no sell on that. You just go to boxbrownie.com/health. And you actually get Brad Filipponi running through your listings to say, here is what I would do. He dismantles your photography. He looks at all the way the property is marketed. But the five things that we look for as part of that is good imagery. Australians are pretty good at doing that. Good copy. Generally, in the property management circles here, I found that to be good. And let me specify too, the copy that we look for. We don't just look for that it's enticing or written well about the property. We look for all of the various property detail that's part of that. You've included the amount of bedrooms, bathrooms, garages at a basic level, but also things like square meterage for the house or the size of the yard or things like that. That's what we look for as copy. Purchasers want to see all of the detail rather than have to guess. We look for a floor plan would be the third thing that we look at. We are starting to expect, as purchasers, we're starting to expect a virtual tour or a 360-degree tour of some kind. And then finally, we look for video. Now, there'll be a lot of property managers out there going, that's very, very difficult to adhere to those five things. But if I were practicing in an agency now, I would have those five things as compulsory. I think they're definitely deliverable. It just comes down to how well you've set your agency up and your flow, your workflow in order to do that, and probably down to your brokerage or your agency as well. If you're a one-man band, those things can be difficult. I guess we do a kind of appeal to that segment of the market. If you're a larger office, then it can come down to how well your agency is set up as far as your tasks and the way that they are apportioned out. And I know you train a lot in that kind of space. And if you're a massive marketing company or a massive asset management company, again, it comes down to a lot of how you set up. Sometimes as a property manager, listening to this, you don't have much say in it. It's someone higher up the food chain. So, getting back to the point, I think those five things, I'd like to see them on everything, whether it's for sale, whether it's a commercial property, whether it's for rent. I think they are overwhelmingly globally the 5 things that purchasers and tenants look for on a regular basis. They're the same everywhere. If I go to America, it's there. If I go to the UK, it's there. It's there in the EU. It's all throughout Asia, and yeah, definitely here in Australia. The REA group, I think you will find, will back up that stat to the hilt if you would ask them what the 5 top things would be.
Yeah. So let's focus on point number 1 in regards to imagery. And I do agree that there's an element of our property management space in regards to our marketing that do a really great job with this, and they engage professional photographers and or they're already utilising your services. But I still believe that there is a large portion that are not. And that's a time factor, it's a dollar factor because landlords aren't wanting to spend the money, because it may cost $150 for a professional photographer to go out and take 8 to 10 shots, and a landlord's not seeing the value in that. So from that space, what can Box Brownie offer? And what's your tip around that now, knowing that we potentially can't get into some of these homes to be taking those photos?
Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose we come to the forefront now because if you're unable to get to the property, there are agencies, rental agencies in Queensland already using this to great success. They're relying on their tenants, especially tenants who are breaking lease or are in financial hardship. They're actually supplying the marketing for them, and we are editing those images. So that will be in the form of the tenant is taking the photos. They're sending out a brief guide. We have photography guides at boxbrownie.com/B as to how they go about shooting it. And they're basically sending the images into us and saying, look, we want them enhanced. We want you to remove items if necessary. We want a twilight conversion done to the front, so the imagery is all consistent across that brand. I mean, that has been happening for the better part of 3 years, so that's not a new technique. Now, if you have access, it's always better. If you're a property manager and you've had a bit of experience shooting houses. Probably the other thing that I'd mention is technology has changed. My iPhone 11 beat a Nikon DSLR last week in a photo shoot, and I just took another one. I did my first photo shoot in a year. I've got to admit, it's been some time since I was full-time practicing, but I did one the other day, and I took this, and I have got to say, the results were insanely good. They were really, really, really high quality, and we are now able to use smartphone images. Probably the only thing you should be aware of is the actual sell factor when you're in front of a landlord and you pull out your iPhone as opposed to a DSLR. But with a bit of education, you can overcome that. So, and again, I'm not suggesting you get rid of the professional photographer. We're talking about extraordinary times. So yes, we can take just about anything and make it look amazing. I would even say to you guys on a budget, it's $2 per image. So if you only had to enhance 10, and I see Warren Tate's put a question up relating to floor plans, but the pictures are the same. If you only have to take 10 images and enhance those and have those on file for some time, they remain there and you can update them on a regular basis. But yes, certainly I'm advocating asking your tenant or your owner to actually take the photos themselves. It's not an ideal scenario. No one ever wants that. I would never advise doing that, except for in the scenario that we are at the moment, or if time dictates that you can't get there. When I was managing a rent roll, some of our properties were incredibly remote in the Chinchilla area, and we didn't actually have a property manager there. So we were fully reliant on the tenants taking photos, and we became quite good at editing those, removing unwanted things and marketing from there.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing your screen? I'm hoping you've got your dashboard up. If we can just show a few images of the item removal. I think when we're talking about this, especially with your landlords or tenants now potentially taking those photos, there's also the element where you don't want their items to also be in the property, or you don't want it to look cluttered. So hopefully you'll see that.
Yeah, I suppose in normal circumstances, that's what it's used for. Queensland, it's used a hell of a lot because as you know, we're not allowed to market a property. I'm not sure about the rest of Australia. You might be able to let me know about that. But I know certainly in Queensland, we're not allowed to market a property with tenants' goods or chattels in the room if they insist that we don't. Certainly with my property managements, that's always been the case. I find that tenants are actually using that as a get out of jail, or we don't want you to come through unnecessarily, or it's just a distraction they don't want to do. So what you're watching here flash up in front of you, hopefully you can see it on your screens, is just more or less tenanted scenarios where the property is not prepared for actual marketing, or there is something in the way. We remove them. I can see I've got the United States pricing, so I might just move it to Australia. Apologies, I've been doing webinars all morning. So there's your pricing. But in the image, in the item removal, it's $10 to take all the items out. It's $5 to take 1 to 2 items, but mainly in property management, it's 10.
Yeah, and I just think that that's a great affordable service now that we can be sharing with our landlords to say, hey, we can still, although it's not getting our professional photographer in, but we can take the photos on our smartphone, or we can have our tenants take those for us, send them through to us. We can upload them to boxbrownie.com. We can get them edited for an affordable price and have items removed from our, key shots, your kitchen, living room, bedrooms, those things. And if you think about that, I did a bit of a, I suppose, dollar case study scenario on it, Pete. And if there was 10 photos and you had to edit those, there's $20. And if you actually chose 3 of your core photos and had those items removed, there's 35. So for a $55 spend, you've created far more professional marketing than just uploading the photos that you had on file, or pulling them from, CoreLogic's website, or just uploading what the tenant's given you.
Yeah, exactly. And vitally important, like the one that you see in front of you at the moment, and I'll just try and keep that up for a little while, that there's just clutter everywhere. So to take that out of the image, it's just helpful, I think, with the new incoming tenant to understand what the space does better than actually viewing just a bunch of clutter through the room. So, yeah, I mean, item removal, I think you're going to see more of when you can't get to a property to prepare it. If there's obviously no tenant in it, you're probably going to be able to get out there right now and actually take a photo of it. But if there is a tenant in there, like I wouldn't be sending a property manager out right now. I'd be a bit scared about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so the next thing on the list, and we've got a question, from Warren as well in regards to floor plans. And I did a post up actually yesterday in regards to this, just kind of highlighting how, from a really kind of, I suppose, quick and easy drawing of the floor plan, and then how we can upload that to Box Brownie, and how you can actually make that into a professional looking floor plan. And even for myself, when recently looking for a rental, it's harder when you're trying to bring, different furniture into the space, and you're trying to go, will that fit? How high is the fridge space? And if we think about, as property managers, what are some of the questions that tenants are asking us? And we've got to remember that sometimes tenants, when they're looking for properties, they're looking at it because they want it to be their home as well. So even though they might only be there for 12 months or 2 years, it's still to them their home for that period of time. So they want to feel comfortable in the space. So it's nice to see the layout where things are going to be for them and the flow of the home. Would you not agree?
Yeah. And as Warren said, you only have to do it once.
Yes, absolutely.
It's very rare that you get changes. So I've shared my screen at the moment. This is one I did yesterday. I'm quite proud of this because, I think after a period of time, you wonder whether you've still got the skills that you actually had as an agent. And I haven't been a practicing agent for a while now, like at least 4.5 years. I was certainly wondering whether I could do it. So what I'm going to do is actually download the before and after that I did just the other day. The floor plan took me 5 minutes to do. It's of a small apartment, so it's not that big. But just so you get the idea that it's not a big scary thing that you don't have to do. I'm not wonderful at doing these. This is what I drew on a piece of paper. So it's not wonderful. My handwriting is atrocious at the best of times. There's not many people that understand that, but even that works quite well. I'm assuming you can see that the preview that's in front of you, and I'll just share the other one. Bear with me while I get the second one open. So we redrew that, and it looks like this. Can you see it?
No. Yes. Oh, that's come up for me. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's what it looked like redrawn. And I mean, I don't have any measurements on there. It is really just to give someone a demonstration as to what the flow of the property is like. And I must say, looking at that now, I have made a mistake, which you can rework. So that secondary ensuite, or the ensuite that's next to the bathroom and laundry, the wall that's there should be moved further back. I've made a mistake in drawing that, but you know, this is a great idea to actually get somebody to understand what the space does. So I'm a massive advocate of floor plans, and I had actually redrawn this to be part of a virtual tour that that we had shot, that I might show you a bit later as well.
Yes. Yeah. And can I just see, for those who have joined us, a show of hands, either raise your hand or, just pop a yes in that chat function as to who is already using floor plans as a part of their marketing?
Oh, I can see the attendees. I hadn't realized we got so many online. Hello, Jordan. Jordan's all the
Good,
way.
Rebecca, Tammy, excellent. We've got a few there that are already using.
God, Jordan's in from Canada. Hey, Jordan, how you going?
Tara's
Katie's
Spot
in.
Photos, Virtual Tours. So we've got a bit of a mixture there. So not as many as I would have thought as well, but that's great to see that we do have some who are already adapting to utilising the floor plans. I think from the aspect of when I was looking for a rental, there was so many things that I was looking for, and probably only 1 in 20 of the agencies that were advertising online did everything. So they were
Mm.
using the combination of 360 floor plan, video walkthrough, and professional photos. Copy was great, and you could actually really get a sense of what that property was like. So you sort of felt like, well, wow, do I really need to inspect this? I think it's, so I already had that feeling a month ago, but now there's still things that online that you feel like, oh no, I still need to go and actually have a look at that, because there's photos there that don't really show me anything.
Yeah, the idea of those 5 steps, going back to it, imagery, a copy, a floor plan, a virtual tour, and video, is to actually qualify the incoming tenant or purchaser. I don't really care which one it is, but to qualify the tenant much faster, and not spend as much time actually showing them 15 properties. And that's what we're seeing. That's the feedback all over the world at the moment, certainly out of North America, is that agents for the first time are realizing that these virtual tours, these floor plans, these things that they're able to do that they've never done and now has forced them to do it, is qualifying so many more purchases. So rather than take them to 15 properties, they're just going to 2, and the people feel like they can make a decision based on that. I don't think it eliminates in 100% of scenarios the need to go and look at the property. That's not what I'm saying, but certainly I would settle for qualification better. I know we used to lose so much time from property managers going out to do another inspection for somebody who really just didn't care, or didn't turn up, didn't want to be there, or had found something that day and hadn't bothered to notify our property manager. I'd like to remove that. And there's a bunch of tech tips that you can do to do that as well. But if your marketing is qualifying them at the point of entry, I think that's much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And new product, the 360. Let's dive into that.
Yeah,
You and I have
yeah,
been talking about this for a little while.
yeah, yeah. We're super pumped about it. I suppose from our perspective, we are friends with just about every single 360 provider on the planet. At last count, we had 30 of them. Most of you will know mainly 3. Matterport, a virtual tours creator, is one in Australia. And for the internationals that have joined us online, you'll probably know someone like Imoview or Rico Tours or Agulo. They are probably the 3 biggest outside of that. And I Spy 360, if we've got anyone here from London, they sort of dominate that space. What I've found is every single time that we discussed virtual tours with the people who were actually doing the aggregators, the 360 tours that were there, they just didn't care about the image quality of their tours. They really just had it out there because they were ticking a box and people were going there. Now, I don't want to speak on their behalf, and we certainly didn't really create a product to necessarily compete with them. We just created a product that we saw a need for. The 360 tour that you're about to look at, I'm hoping you can see this now. We're just going into the example tour. What we really wanted is a sense of a floor plan to start off with, even though this is an opt-in. You don't have to put a floor plan, so you can just go and take the 360 globes yourselves. But the intention of it was to give the same kind of image quality that you see advertised in photos. Well, this is awkward because this is glitching. I don't know if that's got something to do with our
That could
yeah, well, a Zoom connection, I'm not sure. I'm just going to go in and give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. So what always annoyed me was the inability to see outside windows of virtual tour properties.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we've solved that in doing this. Admittedly, you still have to opt in for a bracketing sort of scenario. So a tour like this, which is 15 images or less, costs $20 Australian. That's 16 US. And 20 Canadian for the Canadian that is on board with us today. But this kind of tour is immersive. This is actually being shot by Brad, so this is a professional that has shot this, but it can be done by anyone. All you need is a 360 camera, whether it's the Xiaomi, the Ricoh, whatever. We'll take any of them and we'll stitch them into this this kind of 360 tour. I suppose the benefit of this is that people can just upload their globes and then they hit submit. So you don't actually have to position where every globe goes. We do that for you and we send it back to you in 24 hours. So we tried to keep it to three things: subscription free, the ability to use high quality if you really want that, and probably the third thing was the speed of which you actually get the delivered product back. I see there's a chat. I just bought a 360 camera this week, is from Jordan. From my rentals, didn't want to use Matterport. This works much better. Thanks, Jordan. I hope you give it a go. And Tara's also saying, most of my 4-bedroom homes on bigger properties need up to 20. Yeah, so that jumps up to another price category. If I take you back to the website, I'm assuming you see this. The pricing is there, 16 to 25. Probably the other thing I'd say, Tara, to that is that we're only requiring one per room. So I think you can probably demonstrate some of the bigger properties in the 15 images if you're careful about where you take the like the one that you're looking at. If you're careful about where you take it, is quite a large property. I'm just trying to get back there and navigate around this particular one. If you look at the floor plan, is not a small property in its own right. It has a second floor in there as well, which you see here. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what you want as far as that's concerned, but the pricing is there should you need it. That's up to $30, and then beyond that, it's $10 plus $1 for every image above 26. So it would start at 36 and work up. We haven't had anyone submit anything over 26 plus properties in either the testing period of 1 week or beyond that. And Tara's responded, not all properties is normally the ones with staircases. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
We really think the up to 15 is going to be the most popular. And so what we really just tried to do is create an affordable alternative that wasn't subscription based, specifically for this time now, but even moving forward.
Yeah, so with this, they're just uploading it straight to their Box Brownie dashboard, and they're just pinpointing where the globe actually is, and then you do all of that yourself. Whereas I know some of the other products, you physically have to upload each image. You've got to put the globe in yourself, label it. You've got to do all those extra steps. So can you just re-clarify?
Yeah, let's do it.
Side of it,
Let's do it. So there's the 360 virtual tours. This is your Box Brownie dashboard. You go here. Here's one I've already entered. So all we're going to save is the uploading. I'm just going to go into edit. You have a look at it. You give it a name. So you select the files and you upload the globes, and that takes as long as however that is. You upload the floor plan here, and then you just give each room a name. Room 2, front, whatever. So however many globes you put in there, and then you go down to the bottom and you simply hit check out, and that's done. That is it. Which is incredible. There's one other thing I want to show you. So yes, doing 360 is great. It's probably not going to help you if we go into a lockdown where you're not allowed out, or real estate is not considered to be an essential service. So that is happening somewhere around the globe. I just want to show you the most excited I have been about this product is from an app that's not even ours. Now, Mike Burns is a Palmwoods real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me this. Let me just go to my dashboard and see if I can. No, I'm going to have to go to my email and open it up. Just bear with me 2 seconds. So he gave me
Tara's question. No, Tara, you don't. You can use that camera you already have.
Yeah, the Xiaomi one. That's the little square one. I think you're welcome to use that. All we need is a JPEG panorama coming out of that. So I'm just going to go to a tour that I just did. And the most exciting part about this is the tour is created using a free app. I'll give you that app so you can Google it while I'm looking. It's called Google Street View. So Google Street View has an app that you're able to download. And
Google Street View, is that what it is?
It is, yep. Now, there are 2 apps. I'll post the photo to this one at the end. But why this becomes so important is because I think we are the only 360 provider in the world that can utilize their application. So this is taken only on a smartphone. So let me be clear. We're not using a 360 camera for this 360. Now, you're going to notice that there are glitches. See this wall here that's right in front of us, and the vase or the vase that is there. And if I turn around, it has trouble with close contact detail, like the picture on the wall. But if you are right now in a scenario where you can't access the property, you can ask your tenant or your landlord to go in, and using that app, they take a succession of pictures. It takes about 2 minutes to stitch these together. Check out this window clarity in the detail of this Google Street View app. They can send you the globes and we can update them. Look, this is just a sensational breakthrough as far as I'm concerned, because it's actually removed the 360 app from being a requirement. You can see the glitches there, right, Casey? Can you see them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect, and I'm not recommending, to be clear, I'm not recommending you do this if you have access to a 360 app. But oh my goodness, for all of the properties that you're unable to get to, this does give the tenant a very, very good idea of what that property is doing, right? So a free app, let me go to the app. So I just make sure that you're downloading the same app. And probably the other thing I'd suggest is there's one other piece of instruction that comes with this.
Yep.
And that is, once you've taken the photo, please don't make it public, because that will go straight to Google. So you want to privately share it to your iPhone. You want to save it to your iPhone and send it off to your property manager is what you want to do. So I'm just going to share. This is what the app looks like on Google Play, Android, anything like that. I assume you can see the Google Street View. That's the actual symbol of the app. But amazing, absolutely amazing, cool tech. Try it at your own home. First, remember, after you've taken it, takes about a minute to take all of the little globes. Google will stitch it together. And don't forget too, we can do some cool things after you've done that. So let's say you've sent it off to your tenant. They've taken the photos and they've got a cluttered living room like this one on the left. Don't forget, we can remove all of that. This is a custom quote job. Costs about $32, so it's not cheap, but very effective if you need to take the clutter out of an image. Now, I've taken one of my living room as well. I think probably only Tara and Casey have ever seen my living room. We did try and clean it up for this, remembering that it's daddy and mummy daycare at the moment. You can see the glitches in it, see the lines that are there, but as far as actually telling a person what the space does, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And like, again, that's for right now, from a cost and budget perspective, obviously, as well, for businesses during this time, to know that you can download the app and you can use your phone at least at a bare minimum. Although, what can you buy a 360 camera for, $500-$600?
Yeah, 500, 600 Australian. That's where the Ricoh Theta V kind of comes in. And if that's outside of your budget, the other one you can shoot for is the Theta SC. The SC is the same as the S, but has a faster processor in it. So the image quality is lesser, but you're going to find you're way less frustrated with the SC than the S. I can't use the S anymore. I'm a little bit impatient. And the V is probably my pick of an all-rounder camera, just simply because it brackets.
Yeah.
It takes multiple exposures at one button click. So if I'm a property manager, that's something that you do at the start. You set it up. We have details on our blog as to how you go about doing that. And you just push the one button, it takes the 5 exposures. We will merge them all together for you.
Yeah, and I was, for those in Australia listening, I was chatting with Curtis Protter last week, and the REA have pushed that the 360 and your video walkthrough links are going to be more prominent in your ads. I'm not sure that they're going to be your first hero shot, but they're going to
Right.
be the second photo that you list. So instead of it being further along the photos on your listings, they're pushing through the 360s and any of your videos to be at the top of that listing.
Yeah, well, I've noticed just even on the Facebook post this morning, I've got quite a lot of the REA group commenting on that and seeing how that interest goes there. So obviously they're looking to move into that space. And look on that, as far as a global trend is concerned, so let's just move the whole COVID-19 coronavirus to the side. If we're talking about the trend for marketing anyway, it's definitely towards immersive. The most telling stat is the NAR studies on what generational trends as to what buyers want in every single generation. So that's, from Gen X. Are we at X or is it Z? I can't remember. I'm Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. From Gen Z all the way up to the top, immersive 360-degree tours moved from 16th on the required list to number 4 this year behind floor plans, copy, and good imagery. That is a massive move forward. That is a huge move forward. Normally you will see I guess marketing ideas move up a couple of spaces on the list, but a move from 16 to 4 really suggests that there has been an overwhelming trend. Our friends at Dot Property in Asia, they are the leading portal over there, are saying they're seeing something very similar. And Rightmove out of the UK have recently moved towards immersive marketing, which is the 360s. So, I believe probably 10 years from now, we won't be looking at digital stills of properties. We will, as a default, be looking at 360s. The Japanese market, there is everything has a 360-degree tour or a virtual tour on it. And I mean, that stems from the fact that it takes sometimes 1 year to get from one suburb to the other over there. But it also stems from the fact that they have a lot of buildings that look exactly the same. And your apartment is going to be number 3789645 out of building 7. And you can't tell from the outside as to what it is. So yeah, I'm well aware that there is a definite trend to move towards 360 all around the world, virtual tours. So if you're using them in your property management, big tick. Like that's a great start. Obviously I'm saying to you, you should be at a standard where all 5 are provided right now. But if you're using them already, well played. That's already well ahead of the bell curve, I think.
Yeah, and I think for everyone today, it's about looking at what those 5 tips were from Pete in regards to your marketing health check, and analyze what it is that you're currently doing, what it is that you need to be changing as a part of that process, because you may have been using a professional photographer, but now there's some other options available. You might have been doing floor plans. Now there's some different options available for you as well at more affordable prices, knowing that there's going to be some financial hardship, for both your landlords and of course your tenants as well during this time. So I think there's just lots of different opportunities now for you to present different marketing strategies to your landlords during this time. But what it's also doing is it's changing the status quo for us to be doing this moving forward. I feel like this is going to be the norm of how we're going to market rental properties from today moving forward.
Yeah, so I've put those 5 tips up on your screen. If you're interested, you can take a photo of that or whatever you need to do. They're the 5 that I like to see. And I'm going to move fairly quickly from that. I'd like to give you a couple more tips. So if you are taking photos, or if someone else is taking photos yourself and you're not using a professional, definitely try the pre-photography checklist. You can download this at boxbrownie.com/PDF. That is portable document file. boxbrownie.com/PDF. You can get this, you can get our lookbook, but the pre-photography checklist is there. That's something that I would send out to prepare the property. I'd also be, if you're relying on your tenant or your owner to take photos, you really need to be giving them some capture tips as to how to go about taking the photos. So there are 4 that I would suggest moving on, but also out today on our blog, and that's boxbrownie.com/B, is an excellent article on actually, just a photography 101. I would be sending that to your tenant, or if you're doing it yourself, I'd be watching it. Brad runs over all of the little basic things that you don't know he does in detail. I would definitely be looking at that. So they would be 2 capture tips. Aside from that, on floor plans, which we spoke about before, we have, I suppose, a lot of redraw tips and tricks at our blog as well. So, I keep saying the blog
recently too.
Sorry, what was that?
Brad did a video recently through YouTube,
yes.
and I will share on the PMTA Facebook page later today as well, just that link to that video for everyone, and of Brad actually showing you how easy it is to draw a floor plan. Yeah.
And why that particular video is more important than the one that is on our blog is because it's just a simple guide. Any idiot can follow that. It is really, really simple. You really don't need measurements. So on the ones that we had up there, they're getting everything right. They're talking about, look, you need to go and get a laser measure and all of that. Just strip all of that back. If you've never measured a floor plan, or let's take the word measure out of it. If you've never drawn a floor plan, really all you need is graph paper, and you can step out the walls on that graph paper. You just have to put the windows, things like your kitchen, sink in, and bathrooms in the places that they are. But that is all done as part of that. There's also Box Brownie graph paper that you can download that has the symbols for what is on a floor plan. Like, how do you draw a toilet on a floor plan? And it turns out it's a little oval with a little rectangle underneath it. But all of those things are in a key that's set up the top that you can just copy. So, I'd highly recommend that as well.
Yeah, and I think, with obviously COVID-19, we're learning some new skills as well, like those types of things, how should we be drawing a floor plan?
Yeah.
I think it's taking it back to, and you did mention it earlier, what it, I suppose, used to be like back when we started in real estate, right?
It reminds me very much of that. I mean, and I hate to say you're old, Casey, but I certainly am. And I remember doing these things. Like, that's why I was so thrilled when I did the photo shoot. It felt like back when I was an agent, the first time you draw a floor plan and you go, wow, I can actually do this. And it's not like, a lot of the people listening, you're on lockdown, for crying out loud. Don't tell me that you don't have enough time on your hands. I know that you do. Yeah. Draw your own house, for crying out loud. You don't even have to submit that. You can just compare it with examples of ones people have submitted on our website or in our blogs. And you'll know straight away as to whether it's legitimately correct or not. So take your time, draw as many as you want. I just found it a really good exercise drawing one the other day because there were things I knew that I did in the past that I'd forgotten. So
yeah,
like anything, it's one of those skills that you can just get better
Absolutely.
at.
Yeah. I think also as a part of this, it's, we're talking about all of these options being really nice and affordable. And, now's the time to obviously present these strategies. And if you found it challenging in the past to have these conversations with your clients, thinking they're not going to do it because they don't want to spend the money, number one is that you never know until you ask, right? So for those of you that have actually never asked the question of a landlord around advertising, now's the time to start, because it should be really, really easy with what Pete's shown us today. And it's nice and affordable. You're not having to spend $500 or $600. You can potentially, for $100, get Box Brownie to do everything for you with your assistance of, with you taking some photos or tenants taking photos, you drawing a floor plan, but get Box Brownie to do all of the hard work. And then you've just obviously got your REA fees that, you're going to on charges on top of that as well. So you're sort of looking at something for $150 opposed to $300 as a loose example. So much more affordable, and something that we can be really making sure our branding and our marketing is top notch.
Yeah, I noticed too. Don't just think about properties that you're listing or are currently on the market. The asset management company that I referred to in London is actually sending us all of their current stock that they have 6 or more month leases on. So some of them they have, because they're a larger asset management company, they have between 12 months and 24 months signed up. So they know that there's a good chance that they're going to have to advertise them in the next 12 to 24 months. So they're currently working on those to try and get the existing marketing that is there up to date on those. So, I would use that as well.
Yeah.
If you, by the way, for anyone that's on there, if there's a question that you're thinking about, put it in the chat. More than happy to answer any of the questions you may have, especially the harder ones. I'm going to just throw to Casey.
Of course you are. I was waiting for that one.
But
You can answer far better than me, Pete, though.
maybe the one area I haven't covered off is video, and
Yes.
that may be surprising because we don't obviously edit videos, but videos has been quite important as far as actually right now, I suppose, without the use of that app, getting videos is much simpler off a tenant. Like you might find a tenant has an aversion to using the 360 Google Street View app, or maybe they don't know about it. Video tours are still a legitimate way of touring a property, and you can also guide your tenant through that process of actually walking around the living room, but making sure that they're panning slowly. Like, you're still going to have to give them tips on shooting a video of that property. And sometimes you're going to have to get them all back and stitch them together using a video app. So bear in mind that video is a legitimately good tool to use as well in this particular day and age. And don't forget of its uses as far as virtual tours are concerned. So, and I don't mean a virtual tour as in a 360-degree tour, but you can actually go to a property and Zoom or FaceTime or Facebook Messenger or any of the apps that are out there. You can go and then you can actually show a prospective tenant through a property by just videoing through the property while they're on the other end. And it's probably another tip for the 360-degree camera. If you are going to go out and buy a 360-degree camera, you can put it on the end of a selfie stick. And I see in the question someone's asked what brand that is. Again, I will answer that question in just a moment. But let me show you what Garrick Yan from the Asian Real Estate Association of America does with his 360s. So he's been doing this for some time because he sells property and also rents property to offshore investors. A lot of his clients are native Mandarin speaking. So in this particular video that you're going to see, he's walking around with a selfie stick and a Ricoh Theta V. There was the camera, RICOH. Theta, THETAV, and this becomes a 360 video of the property. You can see my mouse. I am cycling up and down and backwards and forwards while he is talking me through the property. The best part about this video is that it's free. It doesn't have to be brilliant, and you can upload this to YouTube and it recognizes the 360 globe. Now, Tara, quite specifically, I apologize. I don't believe your camera will do this without stitching it together, but maybe you can come back and tell me otherwise. Certainly, it needs to take a fairly decent quality video. I've dumbed this one down for the purposes of it playing faster, but you don't actually have a problem with it playing on YouTube at all. So if that's a tip that you can use, I'd be walking through any of the properties with a 360-degree camera and just going, I'm going to talk you through this. Here is the hallway. Here is the living room. Remember, you don't have to do the $350 to $500 salesperson one where they've got the professional cameraman coming out to the property and the model that's going to sit on the couch and look amazing. It can just be me walking through a property with a 360 camera going, hey, how you doing? It's Pete. It's Pete's Properties. This is Pete's property pick. I'm in the hallway. I'm in the living room. Like, it doesn't have to be Academy Award winning performance is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So can you just repeat the camera options for everyone?
Yes. The camera option I'd recommend, we'll actually take any 360-degree camera. So let me be clear about that. I might actually type it. I'll type it in the chat so you've all got it there. The ones that we do recommend is the Ricoh Theta V is the more expensive option, but better. Let's see if I can say that properly. Ricoh Theta V is there. There is also a Ricoh Theta SC that we also recommend. Again, I'm having trouble spelling theta today. But the other models that are out on the market, there's a Samsung one. GoPro has just released a new one. We're a little bit unsure about how that goes. The reason we recommend the Theta V and the Theta SC is they are the best in the world at taking property pictures using a technique called bracketing, which if you're not familiar with bracketing, I can even show you what that is. Bracketing is where you have I quit out of it. I have quit out of it. Bracketing is where you take 5 different photos at different light resolutions in the same way a professional would, and we merge them together. So that editing process costs you $4, and that's $4 per image. So that stacks up. If you've got 10 images, that's going to be $40 on top of the 15 that you have to lodge the tool with. So that may not be something that you consider as far as property management is concerned, because by the time you start getting into those budgets, there's probably other things that you can do as well. But it certainly is something that I'd be looking at doing if you want to take your game to the next level. So it's a Ricoh Theta V and a Ricoh Theta SC. Jordan has asked about it's not a Theta Z1. I think it's just a Ricoh Z1. It is a very good camera. Jordan, the only thing I'm going to say about that camera, and this is my word of warning, it is a step up from the V by all means on image quality and a few other things. The one issue, the overriding issue we have with the Z1 is its battery life doesn't last for a singular shoot. So Brad loves that camera, but he has strapped a battery pack to his monopod in order to make that work, and that's just for a small 10 apartment shoot. So the only thing I would say is that you're going to require a battery pack, which are a dime a dozen these days. But yes, Jordan, if you want to lash out, that's about 1,300 Australian dollars. Might be a little bit more with our dollar down, or 1,300 Canadian as well, but it's about 1,000 US. So an expensive camera. Don't knock it over.
Yeah. Kylie's just asked, could you just repeat as to what the program was? I'm going to assume you mentioned an app potentially that you could get the tenants to be utilising. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions as well, and this is part of Kylie's question is, what can we be doing now to give the owners peace of mind in regards to property routine inspections, periodic inspections? There's the fact that we're not going in to do them, but what can we be asking the tenants to do? Is there
there are property management companies at the moment that operate simply on 360s. So I know Niche in Melbourne certainly do this, but not just them. There are in the US, there's a property management company out of Colorado that rather than sending property managers to do the routine inspections, they send 18 to 25-year-olds on the back of bikes with the Ricoh Theta on the back of scooters. They have a fleet of scooters, and they send them out and they photograph the entire house in 360. They don't have to upload that to anything. They just put them on a server, and the next day the property management manager goes through those with goggles and decides whether she needs to go or he needs to go out and have a look at the property to clarify something, or whether it's fine. Like, we've had a look at that property, everything seems to be going well, or no, there appears to be a massive hole in that wall and a fair bit of damage done. So we have to go out and have a look at it. So don't forget, as far as routine inspections are concerned, these tools are also very good. Now, you can see the Google Street View app on the screen at the moment. Again, that's available in every single flavor smartphone there is out there.
So you're recommending or you're suggesting that property managers could say to the tenants, this is an option, you download this app, you do the tour for us, send it back to us as your property manager, and then we can actually review that to then decide whether or not we actually do need to enter, or if everything's okay during this time.
Yeah,
Then,
the only thing I'd suggest about using the app for inspection, I was more suggesting the Ricoh Theta, but I suppose because I hadn't actually thought about the app for inspection, the only thing I would say is the app's going to give you some glitchy noise, like this here. Obviously, that wall is not separated in that particular area. So as long as you're happy to, see past things like that, yes, I can't see why you wouldn't. I hadn't thought about it prior to now, but yeah, see the glitchy nature of the app here. Probably the only other thing I would add to that, Casey, before I do actually say it's recommended, is that this app seems to work better on an iPhone X and an iPhone 11. So you may have some issues with Android users. I'm sorry if you're an Android user out there. I really can't help you in this particular instance. You have got a fantastic gaming device that works well as a phone, but the actual Google Street View app that is developed for Android is developed by different developers for the iPhone, and somehow they've got it right on the iPhone. Now we are testing the S10 today. The Android phone, or the Samsung that we used in testing, was the S9, and it hasn't been wonderful at all. So maybe just check also the smartphone that the tenant is using before you start is an iPhone. If it's not, I suppose you're at the mercy of us as to actually waiting for the Android S10 test, which we are doing later today, believe it or not.
yeah, and I think, we've already got apps available where you can be sending links to your tenants to say, let's have a meeting, as if you, similar to how you would already be doing your property inspections or your routine inspections, and saying, well, we're going to come in at, 10 o'clock as an example, but the way that we're coming in is we're sending you a Zoom link. They can
Yeah.
download Zoom as an app on their phone as well, and
Mm.
you can be recording that, and they can be walking around. You can just say,
Yeah.
look, show me the wall, show me this, show me that. And it can be just done in 5 to 10 minutes in exactly the same way, and send that recording link to your clients as well.
Yeah, heck yes. And the best part about all of this is if you develop these tools now, you're still going to use them further down the track. Like, let's say this is all over in 2 months or whatever it may be. I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know when it's going to end. I don't see property managers ever going back from this. I see them always, you're always going to be able to utilize these tools further down the track for whatever the purpose may be. Maybe it's just you can't get to the property in time because there's been a crash or there's a massive hailstorm that's hitting right now. Well, let's zoom it now. And we'll move forward from there. If you want to see it further, we can see it further. But don't forget, these tools exist outside of an extraordinary circumstance time that we're in at the moment.
Absolutely. Kylie, you can record on WhatsApp so the tenant would have to do that themselves, whereas via Zoom, it'd be like how Peter and I are talking now. So the tenant can use WhatsApp, but they do it themselves. Hold down is very slow. They just hold down the button and record it for you like that themselves. Or if you're wanting to do it as an actual meeting, you would send them a Zoom link, and you don't have to pay for the Zoom subscription to be able to do that. You can use the free Zoom subscription, and you just create a meeting with the tenant. They download the app on their phone, and then you meet with them like this, and they just turn the phone around and show you, but it gives you the benefit of recording it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean there are other ones as well. So Zoom is one. There's GoToMeeting has a free account. Google Hangouts has free accounts.
Yeah.
There is also Blue Jeans is another. Has a bit more functionality. Is a legitimate tool. They all record as well. So don't forget, there's other alternatives to Zoom. But I've got to say, we're both using Zoom. We do this quite a bit. So I think it's probably the top of the pops for what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone have any other questions that Pete can certainly assist you with in, making sure that you've got your marketing top notch now moving forward? And I do believe that we'll continue to use these strategies regardless of when COVID-19 moves away from our world. This is what's going to become the norm now, and we really have to embrace what's out there and trial all different options to see what's going to work for you and your clients in your space.
Yeah, well, out of this, just while we wait for anyone else to respond, I think there's going to be a lot of principals, looking at the fact that they they have an office that was unused and their business did not fall over. I suspect you're going to see a lot more remote property managers out of this. So, you know, you being here today, gearing yourself up for that, just puts you in a great position in order to be able to deal with that industry wide. Certainly, I think commercial real estate is the loser out of this whole scenario, because, you know, if I was the principal of an agency that was paying $4,000 per square meter in the middle of Sydney, and I had no one occupying the office and life didn't end, I'd certainly be questioning as to whether I need that massive overhead. So, you know, thinking ahead, I certainly do believe commercial real estate is, I'm not saying get out of the industry, but I think it'll be quite hard to lease for the short term straight afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, guys, by talking to your landlords about these different marketing options that, to be fair, they have been out there for many years. It's just now forcing our hand to make the changes and have those better conversations with them. You're still showcasing incredible value in your fee. And don't think just because you now can't physically go and walk inside that property to do a routine, or you can't get the professional photographer out there, that you're reducing your value at all. In fact, you're actually increasing it, because you're offering so many different tools and technology to attract tenants faster, better quality tenants. And you're showcasing that in this time, when there's a pandemic, that there are so many options that allow us to still perform our roles as property managers.
Yep. Yeah, and you go ahead, buy yourself the 360 camera, regardless of property management. Like, I use it at the pub. Let's be honest, I use it everywhere I go. You're gonna be uploading 360s to Facebook every day of the week. I'll know you've got one because I'll be seeing it. And moving forward from here, if you've got any questions about marketing, don't hesitate to send me an email. My email is peter@boxbrownie.com, so very hard to remember. You can send me any hate mail, anything that you're not certain about. I do respond well to emails. So just if you've got any questions outside of, or think of something tomorrow, or you're watching this in replay, by all means, shoot me an email and I'll try and answer that as best I can.
Yeah, and I'll also send everyone some of those links that Pete shared, you know, it's the different blogs, different YouTube videos, the camera, the photography checklist, just some of those extra hints and tips for you, just so that you can read over them, because sometimes when we're talking, we, you know, don't get to write everything down at the same time. So I'll send that all through to everyone in an email and share it through Facebook as well. But I will share this recording also later this afternoon via Facebook, so that if you do wish to watch, you're more than welcome to. Please do, and share away so that everyone else is making sure our marketing is top notch now in our rentals.
Yep. But in the meantime, stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do during COVID-19. That'll be much safer.
Yeah. And for those of you who are still on, join Tara Bradbury and myself for what normally is Friday wine hour, but because it's a public holiday tomorrow, we're now having Throwback Thursday wine hour today at 4:00. Please join us as we just going to share some additional tips while we're all enjoying a glass of wine this afternoon. So
Thirsty Thursdays.
Thirsty Thursdays.
You're gonna have to rename it for today. Sounds good to me.
With Throwback Thursday, we thought we might, you know, add a little bit of how were we performing in property management this time last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago even. Yeah, very true.
Throw back to 2. Cheers for having me.
Yeah,
I'm assuming there are no more questions, and thanks for joining, everyone. I really appreciate you being on.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. And thanks again, Pete. It's always lovely chatting with you, as always.
We'll do it in person next time.
Yeah, when we can see each other.
Yeah, that's it.
Very good. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.
See you later, guys.
Chat soon. Bye.